Hi, this is Will Stewart from OnlineChessLessons.net, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Lars Bo Hansen, a established Grandmaster from Denmark. And for those of y'all who are unfamiliar with his body of work, he achieved the International Master title in 1987, the Grandmaster title in 1990, and he's currently rated about 2580 FIDE. So how's everything going today, Lars?
I'm good, thank you. Everything's fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just catching up with Lars for a second. He said he's getting ready to play in the U.S. Open in a couple days, and he's planning on winning the 4-day schedule. So anyway, the title of the interview series is How to Become a Grandmaster, so why don't we go ahead and get cracking. So when did you learn chess, and who taught you?
Well, I was taught by my father, who was a diligent chess player himself, but he was more of a chess organizer. He held a high post as official in the Danish Chess Federation at the time, and I got into the game at around the age 9 or 10, which is perhaps a little bit late. But once I got started, I was very quickly spending a lot of time on the game, studying a lot of books and classics, and going to some chess camps and having a chess coach, and that very quickly got me into the game.
Okay, and how were you doing? I mean, I guess you started around 9 or 10. I mean, when did you start really playing tournaments and going to these camps, and how were you doing in the beginning? I mean, were you just killing everybody in your age group, or was it kind of, a lot of work in the beginning until you really started making the push?
Well, basically I started playing right away. We had these two kinds of tournaments. We had the tournaments that were basically in my age, in which I was very successful from the very beginning, which I think was also an important motivator for me. And then we had some adult tournaments as well, where I think I got what was a very important point of chess improvement. I got to play some players that were slightly stronger than me, so that I could always challenge myself and push to the next level by having someone whom I wanted to compete against and compare myself against. And I think these two kinds of tournaments was very important for me to participate in at the time.
Okay, so what do you think contributed to developing and improving quickly as a junior the most? I mean, do you think it was just a lot of studying on your own and reading a lot of books? Do you think it was going to the chess camps? Do you think it was working with a coach? Or do you think the best thing was kind of a combination of everything and playing these older and better players?
Right. Well, for me it was certainly a combination of everything. I enjoyed very much playing. I think it's important to play when you're a junior and basically test yourself in practical games. But having said that, it's also important to study between the games and between the tournaments and the events. I always have this saying that there is a lot to be gained from chess coaching and from chess camps, and I'm organizing chess camps myself and coaching as well. But it also needs to be put into practice, and that you need to be able to work with that during the times where you're not studying with other people. So being able to work on your own, using this material you learned from the coach is very important, and that's also one of the things that I myself now emphasize in my own coaching, not just transferring skills or knowledge per se, but also transferring the tools for how you can work on your own chess, which areas you should work on, which tools you can use to improve your chess, and that comes from my own experience from my days as a junior myself.
Okay. What are your top book recommendations for beginner to intermediate players, let's say under 2000?
Well, first of all, you need to go over a lot of tactics. So any kind of tactical book where you learn the basics of tactics and combinations, that's very important, because basically all games will have some kind of tactics involved in them. But as soon as you get over that level, then I think it's important to realize that the tactics and combinations, they don't come out of the blue. We need to be able to solve combinations and spot tactics during a game. But at the next level, we need to be able to build our position so that the tactics actually occur. And tactics occur from stuff like having active pieces, generating direct threats, identifying the right targets, and so on. So that's the next level that we need to study. And for that, I recommend a number of books. For example, I was always, and I still am, very fond of studying game collections of some of the Grandmasters, studying game collections in terms, for example, of attacking chess like Fischer or Paul Morphy or Alekhine or Tal or others. And basically to see not just how they were carrying out the combinations, but also how they built their game to the stage where the combinations actually were in the position. And that was basically the next step in my own development when I was a teenager at the age of 12, 13, 14. I studied a lot of game collections. That was basically what I enjoyed very much doing in my chess progress, learning about the great masters in the process. So this component of studying chess history as well was something that was very appealing to me at the time, and which benefited my chess very much.
Okay. I guess in layman's terms, start with tactics for more beginner players. As you become more advanced, start working with games collections and more middle game and end game. Okay.
And then, of course, now we started out with the attacking and the tactics. There is one book that I should mention, which is extremely important. That is Nimzovich, My System. If I should mention just one book which has been really influential in my own game, then that's Nimzovich, My System. I've actually read it now in 3 different languages. In German, which was the original language where Nimzovich wrote it, and then in the Danish translation, and now in this new 21st century English edition that has come out. And they are all fantastic books, and I cannot recommend them enough. But that is basically when you get to the probably the intermediate level, something starting at maybe 1500. That is where you will really be able to grasp some of these issues that Nimzovich is dealing with, and then you can use that book throughout the career. I still pick it down the shelf sometimes and look at it now, because there are new things that come out of it every time I do it.
Wow, okay. How about book recommendation for advanced players? Let's say over 2,200 FIDE who are trying to make the push towards, I guess, international titles. Right.
I think at that point you need to go to some of these advanced endgame books. Basically, there are 2 types of endgame books, and one is learning these basics. Philidor's position, Lucena positions, how to make with 2 bishops, with bishop and knight, and these things. But then later it becomes more advanced, like how to defend with rook and 3 pawns versus rook and 4 pawns, how to win with an extra exchange, how to maneuver in queen end games and stuff like that. And there are a number of very good books on the market on that. There are these Goretzky books. There are books by this German grandmaster
Müller. Müller and Lamprecht.
Very good. And they're working with these technical endgames. And then there are a number of books that deal basically with what I call strategic endgames. I wrote one of these myself, where I see that as a complement to the technical books, where you deal with things like which exchanges should I go for, how should I activate my king, what about the pawn structure, and some of these things that basically draw a line from, which I think is very important to emphasize, from going from the middle game to the end game. We are very often talking chess about having 3 phases. There is the opening, there is a middle game, and there is the end game. But I think there are 2 more phases. That is the transition phases, the transition from the opening to the middle game. What kinds of attacking plans should I pursue? What kind of positional strategy should I pursue? That goes from the opening and into the middle game. And similarly, from the middle game and to the end game, what kinds of exchanges should I pursue? What kind of tradings will be in my favor? When should I stay out of the end game and continue the middle game? So these are 2 extra phases that I also emphasize very much in my own writings. because I think they are slightly neglected in the chess literature, where we deal mainly with the opening, middle game, end game distribution. And I think these phases are important as well, the transition phases.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of switch it up a little bit. So how did you become a Grandmaster? I mean, what was your exact study regimen? Were you working with a trainer? If so, what percentage of time were you working with a trainer?
Right.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. No, basically I had this problem that coming from a very small chess country in Denmark. I had a coach when I was a kid at the beginner intermediate level, but as soon as I got to the advanced level, I was pretty much on my own, and I had to make all these mistakes that you have to make when you're doing it on your own. But it turned out, I think, to my advantage, because I managed to build a lot of experiences by trial and error. So a very important point for me at that stage, when I was in my late teenage years, when I became an IM, I think at 18, 19, and then a Grandmaster at 21, 22, it was very much about playing a lot. And at that stage, I emphasized very much challenging myself by playing tournaments and opponents that was slightly stronger than me. I was always looking for that. If I had an opportunity to play a section up, for example, or to get into a very strong tournament, I would jump at the chance, even if that meant sometimes taking a beating and having some poor results. I felt that was an important learning point, that you cannot go from success to success. Then I think your improvement will stall at some point in time. You need to challenge yourself and accept sometimes the setbacks that come from that. So playing a lot was important for me, and playing a lot of these strong tournaments, and then trying to learn from that. Studying my own games, studying your own games is very important. Spending a lot of time of analysis on your own games, not just running them through an engine, which didn't of course exist at that time. But I think that's a mistake that some players tend to do, that when they suffered a loss, for example, then they very quickly run it through an engine, and the engine say, okay, you made a mistake on move 16 when you did that and that, and then they forget about this game, because now they know that next time they should play a different 16
right.
move.
Yeah.
But I think there is a lot of learning to be made by studying the entire game, the middle game, the end games, and so forth, and also sometimes doing it without the computer. Trying first to think for yourself, basically draw some conclusions, and then afterwards check it with the computer, because ultimately when we would be playing again in the next tournament, we would be without the computer. Right? So I think the computers have helped very, very much with the databases, the analysis engines, and so forth, but we should also use computers smartly. And I sometimes advise, especially young players, to sometimes put the computer aside and start thinking for themselves, and only after that compare these conclusions that they made to the conclusions that the computer would come up with, not just letting the computer do the thinking for you. I think that's an important issue as well.
Okay. So what is your study routine now? I mean, how did it change once you became a GM? What's different now?
Well, I think
I don't want you to give up too many of your secrets. Nothing too specific, right?
There's basically two things that have changed, I think, that time. The one thing that happens when you go up the rating chart is that the openings become more and more important. I always emphasize that the opening is not too important as long as you are a beginner, intermediate, even as pretty advanced levels. But as you get higher and higher up, the opening becomes more and more important, because it's very difficult to get out of bad positions. If you get into a bad position against a strong Grandmaster, you are almost
good luck.
From the beginning. When you do that against lower-rated players, you can still sometimes escape from that. So basically, I had to emphasize openings more and more. That's one thing that went into to this period of time when I became a GM, and then tried to improve from that level. At that time, I was about next point is that what happened for me was that I was a chess professional for 8 years at that time when I became an IM and when I became a GM, and for some years after I got the Grandmaster title. But then after a few years, I decided that now I wanted to do something else next to chess, so I went to college and got a business degree and an MBA, and now I'm close to finishing my PhD. And what really surprised me at the time was that my rating didn't really go down. I expected that when I changed my study regime so that I would have less time for chess, that obviously my results and my ratings would suffer. But that was actually not the case. Actually, I managed, even by studying chess a little less than before, to more or less maintain my rating. And I think that's something that has to do with the transfer of skills from different topics. And I actually think that it's very good for chess players to have other interests outside chess as well. That is, focus is very important, sure, but you should also basically grow as a human being and pursue other life interests as well, which I think is very important. So what I'm doing is that basically I'm transferring skills from chess to my academic work. That is certainly one thing I've seen, that there is a transfer of skills from chess to other fields.
What do you see as a transfer? Do you see is it the ability to plan or to maximize your focus in a certain time? I mean, what do you think are the most critical skills that you transfer from chess to the business world or anything else?
Right. Well, I think there are a number of skills that we can transfer. First is this, as you mentioned, with planning. That's certainly very important, and also this idea of simply systematic work that you can improve through systematic work in basically any field. But also other stuff like being able to deal with setbacks. We know from chess that we cannot win every game. There will always be some losses, some unfortunate games, and also the point of being able to make decisions. That a chess game is basically a series of 40, 50, 60 decisions depending on the length of the game. So we know we need to make decisions, and we know that we cannot work with full information. That we can only make the decision based on the available information, that is the things we have calculated, the knowledge we have of the position and so forth. And all of these things, these are of course meta competences that you can transfer from chess to other fields, which I found was very useful in my academic and business work. But what was interesting for me was also that I've also noticed that I'm able to transfer skills from academia and business back to chess. That actually some of these skills that I have learned by going to college, by studying other themes and so forth, is something that I can also use in chess. For example, this point that people like very much to think of chess as an objective game. That now we can go in and then the computer says that this position is 0.25 better for white. Let's say that is correct, that it is actually 0.25 better for white. But if this is a very aggressive position where I would need to sacrifice pieces or to play very viciously for an attack, and I'm basically a positional player, then this 0.25 points better for white is basically meaningless. Then I should stay away from that position and then say, okay, I will play the other line, which is perhaps only 0.1 better for white, but it's a positional strategy which fits my style much better. And some of these things, I think, is something that you learn very much in other terms, in business and academia and so forth, that you transfer back to chess as well. So I emphasize very much this idea of pursuing different interests as a way also to improve your chess, by the way.
Okay. Well, speaking of business, I understand you're working on a new project in Orlando, the Game Chess Academy. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, basically what my wife and I do. My wife is a women's international master, and what we're basically doing is that we're setting up a series of chess camps in the Orlando area. That for now I've been working with a lot of individual students, and back from Europe I have a lot of experience in working with these chess camps. So basically what we're trying to do is to set up a series of chess camps where we try to pursue this way of coaching that I've outlined, where we are based here in Orlando and saying, okay, then we can make some kind of family tour out of that. So we are basically planned some of these camps over Thanksgiving, over Christmas and spring break, so that the families have the option of doing more things at once. So we're very excited to follow up on that, and certainly recommend some of your listeners to check out our website or floridachesscamp.com, where we've written much more about these ideas that we try to pursue.
Excellent. FloridaChessCamps.com. Okay. All right. Winding down a little bit of a curveball for you. Do you have any charity causes you would like to promote, chess related or not?
Well, basically, I like very much this idea of charity causes that have to do with the mental aspects of life. I think that is very important, because that's where chess is involved, where chess can certainly help mitigate some of these symptoms that we have in some of the mental diseases that we see in the world. So I won't mention any specifics, but that's exactly what I think chess is very, very well suited to, and I think bringing chess into a number of areas, not just in this case, we've talked very much about coaching and about transfer of skills to academia and business and so forth, but also other kinds of areas in the community. I think chess will have an impact also in terms of seniors and retired who can certainly benefit very much from what chess can give.
Okay. Do you think that top chess players are born with a natural ability or a natural talent, or do they become so good just through hard work and the right environment?
Yeah, it's a good question, and well, I know that psychologists would say that now they focus on very much on hard work, and I would say hard work is very important. But I have played several of these talented prodigies. I played Judith Polgar when she was 13. I played Peter Lekro at 15. I played Carlsen when he was 14. I played Nakamura at 16. Kramnik at 17. And those didn't just
okay. Enough said, right?
Just from studying a lot. So I would say that hard work is important, but I do think there is a component of talent, natural talent as well. So I don't believe, I think that anybody can become a grandmaster. Anybody can become a strong player by diligent work, good coaching, challenging themselves in tournaments, always trying to improve in that way. But I also think that everybody is born with a built-in higher level for how much that is. For me, that was about just below the 2600 FIDE. I have tried throughout my career to break the 2600 barrier, and I think I've stuck at 2586. I think was my highest. So that's where, even though I did all those things, I worked hard, I challenged myself, pushed myself as much as I can. That is where I hit my barrier, just below 2600. And I think, having said these two things, that hard work is important. There is a small component of talent in players like Nakamura, Carlsen, and Polgar that we should not underestimate.
Okay, so the biological predisposition is definitely a big factor.
I think it is a factor. How big it is remains to be sorted out by scientists.
Fair enough. Okay, wrapping things up a little bit, how do you feel about cheating in chess? Do you have any specific deterrents or punishments that you would like to see enforced, or do you just think that this has kind of been over-sensationalized and too hysterical recently?
Right. Well, I would say yes and no to that. I think there is less cheating in chess than people might think. I don't think cheating is a very big problem in terms of actually cheating going on. But I think cheating is a very big problem in the sense that it is possible. That is that the engines are now so strong that cheating is a real factor in the terms that it could happen. So I think it's important to make sure that it doesn't happen by having different kinds of remedies, like checking against the help from others, and making sure that there's no free access to electronic help and some of these things. And of course, at the World Championship level, they have to do it very diligently. and different things have been tried out.
What do you think is a reasonable punishment? I've heard many grandmasters suggest a lifetime ban from playing in rated tournaments, or I've heard suggestions to follow kind of how other sports do it and say maybe like a 3-year ban or a 5-year ban. What do you think is most reasonable?
Well, I would say that it makes sense to follow what other sports are doing. So having first, let's say, okay, a ban of 2-3 years like they do for doping in other sports.
Sure, yeah.
And then having, in terms of repeat offenses, then having maybe a lifetime ban at the end of that. But I think some people make mistakes, and I think, but I think there should be a serious punishment in terms of perhaps, let's say, a 2 or 3 year ban for first-time offenders, because it is certainly something that we should work very hard to keep out of the game, because it is so clear that the option exists through the strong engines. But I should emphasize again, as I do, that I myself trust 99% of all chess players. I don't think cheating is a big problem in terms of it actually going on. I have to say that is not my experience. So it's more to make sure that this small component, that nobody gets tempted to do it.
Okay. Okay, I don't want to take up too much of your time. My last question for you: who is your favorite player and why?
Well, I've had many favorite players throughout my career. Usually, when I was a teenager, it was whom I was studying at the time. But should I mention just one player whom I was very inspired by when I was a teenager and studied these game collections? Then I would say Akiba Rubinstein. He was not a world champion, I know, is one of the strongest never to become world champion, but judging from the impact of studying the games of these players and then transferring them into my own games. Studying Rubinstein, I studied several of his game collections, starting with the 100 best games by Hans Fock, was very influential by myself, because Rubinstein had this ability to build from a sound pawn structure and from sound principles of chess, and then to basically be an aggressive positional player at the same time. And that was basically that kind of player I wanted to be. I wanted to be an aggressive positional player, playing from a sound positional basis, but also acknowledging that in chess you need to be aggressive in order to win games. So if I have to mention just one player, then it would be Rubinstein.
Okay. Cool. Well, hey, man, thank you for taking the time to talk with me for a couple of minutes, and I certainly appreciate it. And the best of luck to you with the Game Chess Academy down in Orlando. And I will look forward to watching your games in a few days at the U.S. Open. So the best of luck to you in the 4-day section.
Thank you. I'll do my best.
All right. Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.